This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
Hour number 2 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and John Sabear filling in for the guys for a couple days. Having some fun. Take a look at the 2026 college football season as we move forward. 61 days away. Slowly but surely. SEC Media Days only a few weeks away, which is the unofficial kickoff to the college football season. But I want to have some fun here in hour number 2. Both me and Conrad, we have our SEC quarterback power rankings going into the 2026 season. I think it'll be a lot of fun. See where we have some little differences, but more than likely, I think I'm interested to see how the top 5 look for both of us, because I know you're not the biggest Trinidad Chambliss believer, but
What are you talking about?
Oh, so you got him at number 1? That's what you're saying?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think do you want to start at the top and go down, or from 16 on up?
I'd start at the bottom.
Let's start at the bottom.
Start at the bottom.
All right. Right now at number 16, I have Jared Curtis, quarterback at Vanderbilt. He's a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's a 5-star, but you're also at Vanderbilt. And what we saw from Diego Pavia, there's some big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he is 5'9", that's a big gap. That's big. So
what if he's better than Diego Pavia?
Then you need to watch out as an Alabama fan if he is. that's a you problem.
Yeah, I think it's fair to have him. Yeah, I mean, I have him pretty low too. So
yeah, at number 15, I've got I just put Arkansas quarterback. Whoever it is it KJ Jackson?
I just assumed it was KJ Jackson.
You're right. So I have them. I don't know what to expect with Arkansas, and it's crazy to believe we've been saying that for the past 5-6 years of we don't know what to expect from Arkansas. And now with Ryan Silverfield taking over first year from Memphis, I
don't expect a lot.
Right. It's, whoever's at quarterback is going to be tough sledding. And not to say that Taylor Green was about as inconsistent as they come. His peaks looked amazing. But boy,
I was about to say, you had those highs, though.
Yeah, buddy. They gave you a chance. But I have Arkansas quarterback at number 15. At 14, I have Kamario Taylor. And I feel kind of bad for putting him down there because Jeff Lebby's system is geared for the quarterback to have some success.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's Mississippi State. I saw what Blake Shapen was when he was healthy. And then they started leaning on the run game with Fluff Bothwell and those guys. And I just don't know if Kamario Taylor, I know his ceiling is pretty high just because of his athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
When he was asked to go in there, he did his thing. But now as the number 1 guy, I just think it's going to be tough. I genuinely think it's going to be tough.
Okay.
At 13, I have Kenny Minchie at Kentucky. And I know there was a lot of buzz around him at Notre Dame that he basically
he almost won that job.
Almost won the job. And it's hard for me to kind of put that expectation on him in Kentucky. And again, Will Stein, I think he's a phenomenal coach. I think he's a great offensive designer, offensive play caller. But I just look at the location and where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at just where you are as a program right now. It's just hard for me to put high expectations for him. Not to say that he's not a good player, but I just don't think that. And again, I know Kentucky did a great job in the transfer portal with the collection of talent that you have, but I still think that, no offense, it's still Kentucky. It's just going to be difficult. At number 12, I have Tennessee quarterback. And I love Josh Heupel. I think for everything that you got with Joey Aguilar, you almost over-exceeded expectations. And now you're getting a guy with pretty much no significant experience being your starting quarterback in the system. And again, it's tailor-made for you to have success, but it's also difficult in that situation where you turn the ball over. Now all of a sudden you're fighting an uphill battle and still banking on them to go out there and perform at a high level. I just think it's going to be difficult. And number 11, I have Austin Simmons at Missouri. I think Austin Simmons probably has the biggest potential to be higher up on this list, but right now, this was probably talent-wise the best quarterback Missouri's had. but also he had his limitations at Ole Miss when the expectations were for him to take that next step after Jackson Dart. He ends up getting hurt, and Trinidad Chambliss takes it and runs with it and never gives it back. But I do think, the health of Ahmad Hardy and some of the pieces that you have, you get Caden Lee in the transfer portal from Ole Miss. It's tailor-made for you to not mess it up. But also we've seen Austin Simmons at times, even when he was at Ole Miss, with a system that was made for you to go out there and throw for 400-some yards, and he couldn't do it. So I'm hesitant on Austin Simmons, but I do think he has the potential to go higher on this list. Right now at number 10, I have Austin Philo. New location, new system. Well, same system, but new spot.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think, like Haynes King, in hindsight, and I was very I
never thought he would be what he would now. I agree with that.
Never. But I also don't think they're going to ask him to do everything that Haynes King did because of Jaden Baugh in the backfield and the receivers that you have. I think for him, his upside isn't going to be statistic-wise. I think it's just going to be how efficient is this offense going to look under his tutelage. And again, he's going in there with a guy that, has played in the system, Eric Singleton, and you got some big, heavy hitters with Dallas Wilson and those guys. So I think the pieces around him can make him look a lot better than what he actually is as a quarterback. And not to say that he's not going to be a good quarterback, but right now I have him at number 10. Right now at number 9, I have John Mateer, which going into the last season, he would have been in my top 3 to 5 category. But I think what we saw after Auburn, and once we found out his thumb was injured, and looking back on it, I think he probably forced himself back into the role a little too early, but he never really looked like he did coming out the gate for Oklahoma. So right now it's you're going to have to prove it to me again. Like, you're going to have to rewire my brain to say, like, hey, he can go back to his Washington State days and light it up. But also when the offense needed you to be at your best, he was inconsistent. So I look at him as kind of like the barometer. He's kind of the middle of the pack right now, with the potential of moving up in this ranking. But right now I have him at number 9. Number 8, I have, this could be rough, but I have Austin Mack / Keelan Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very similar to Ty Simpson last year, where I haven't seen enough of them in meaningful time.
Yeah.
But not to say that they're not going to be better than advertised.
No problem.
But I think it's very reasonable because everybody above them I've at least seen, and I can kind of see now at their peak they could probably be in these conversations, but right now they're right there in the middle, because I do think that Austin Mack came in the playoff game. You're playing, you're just going out there free-wheeled at this point, because the game was kind of already in hand. There wasn't anything that was going to separate him to make me feel more confident in him moving forward into 2026. And same with Keelan Russell. When I saw him at times, it was garbage time, but he lit it up, and it was great.
Yeah.
But I do think that either one of those is probably right there at the average spot at number 8. Number 7, I have Marcel Reed. I think we've seen the best of Marcel. I really do. I think he's reached the ceiling, and now you're getting a new offensive coordinator. And I think Mike Elko, what you saw for him and Colin Klein last year, the Notre Dame game sticks out because it's like, wow, when you actually, if he had to go air raid, he got it done. But there were moments throughout the season where the old Marcel Reed continued to show up. I just think that you've reached the ceiling. I don't think he's going to get any better, but also I don't think he's going to get any worse. He's just average. Like, he's average to above average, but never elite. And I think that's just the proverbial ceiling that he has as a quarterback. But I do think having Casey Concepcion last year, having Mario Craver, Bethel Roman, now you're adding, Isaiah Horton. Does Mario Craver step up to be that number 1 guy? Like, there's ways to kind of take the load off of him where he can go out there and exceed. But right now I have him at number 7. Number 6, I have Lenore Sellers. Again, boom or bust. We know when he's on, he is a playmaker with his legs, with his arms. But by God, we have to see it for a consistent basis, game in and game out. Now we're in the top 5. Right now at number 5, I have Byron Brown. And again, South Florida to Auburn.
Yeah.
Does it translate? If it does, yes, he has solidified himself as a top 5 quarterback in this league. There are a lot of question marks. But I think Alex Golesh, again, I am high on him. I am high on Byron Brown. I think that they are a great tandem. They are great to pair. But I do think there are some limitations because of the guys that are ahead of him. They've done it at this league, or some of them have done it in this league, but I do think their upside is high. Number 4, I have Sam Leavitt. Yes, he's coming from injury, coming from Arizona State, but again, tell me a quarterback that has failed in Lane's system, can't find you one. If you did, you probably have to go back to whoever he had at Tennessee years ago. But I think right now, as far as the transition going from Arizona State to LSU, I think he's going to be surrounded with talent, and I think his talent individually, he is going to.
It's just about the foot injury.
Right. If he's 100%,
how does he recover?
Yeah. How does he recover from that? If he's 100%, yes, he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league. Now in the top 3. Number 3, I have Arch Manning. Arch, in the latter part of the season, in the last part of the season, he looked phenomenal. Again, it was his first go around as the guy last season. Now, when you pair that up with Ryan Wingo, who I think does take a step up, you got Cam Coleman, you have some other additions in the portal, you got a solid running game, you have Steve Sarkisian calling plays for you. It is hard for me not to believe that he is going to have success. Fair enough. But also, there's a hint of, okay, if what a Texas offensive line is as shaky as it was last season, do we see what we saw against Florida, or do we see what we saw against Oklahoma? Which Arch do we get? At number 2, I have Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton. And if Trinidad Chambliss did not exist, he would be number 1. Gunnar Stockton, tough as nails. He's a prove-it guy. Arm talent-wise, can't deny it, what he's able to do with his legs. I go back and watch that Tennessee game where his back was against the wall and all he did was rise and overcome. And that's really every single snap, every single game that you saw Gunnar Stockton. If there was a moment of adversity that approached, he hit it head on and did not look back. And you go all the way, that leads you to an SEC championship game, and you lose to the guy who is number 1 in the SEC, in my opinion, in the power rankings. That's Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. If he's not playing for Ole Miss is a 7-win football team, system or not. If he's on the field for you, it's hard for me not to believe you're going to win 10 or more. Yeah. And I think that talent-wise, marrying that up with the offensive system, now it is going to look different with Charlie Weiss, but I think individual talent-wise, he is the ultimate equalizer. If he's on the field for you, you got a chance. If he's not, it's going to be tough sledding. But that's my SEC power rankings.
I think that's really, I think that's really solid. And like you said at the top, right, we're going to have the same guys. They'll just be, maybe moved around a little bit there. But it's very interesting because I think, with the top half of the conference, right, you're all banking – you're ranking guys based on what you've seen so far, and then the bottom half of the conference, you're essentially ranking guys that we have no idea how it's going to work, right? Because there's guys that have really high ceilings. Like I think a lot of people would agree that in terms of highest ceilings, like Keelan Russell has one of the highest ceilings maybe of any of the quarterbacks on this list, but we've never seen him play meaningful snaps. So it's hard to know what you make of a guy like that. Or the same thing with, what if things work with Will Stein at Kentucky and Kenny Minchie comes in and you're like, okay, I see why this guy almost beat out CJ Carr, because that's, you already brought it up, but that's like such a tough thing for me to put into perspective, because I think CJ Carr is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in college football right now. So if you're telling me this guy could potentially be a top 10 quarterback in college football, right, if he's like right behind him, then you don't really know what to make of it. Or is it a situation like, a couple of years ago with the Georgia situation where you kept hearing like, oh, dude, this Brock Vandagriff guy, like, and it's kind of funny that we're talking about Kentucky again because of Brock Vandagriff, but it's the same thing where it's like, man, he's, he almost won the job. Like, he was really close. He almost beat out Carson Beck. Like, oh, so he must be pretty good then. And then it's like, oh, he's actually not that great. But maybe that was just part of, him being in that system there at Kentucky. So it's very interesting. But a lot of it is just projecting, and, we will learn so much, and this list will look so much different, even 3 months from now, once we're, a month into the season, you've kind of gotten to see these guys just a little bit. So, all right, that's Damien's list. I'll give you mine next, 1 through 16, as we continue our ranking of the SEC quarterbacks. You're listening to McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and 3-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
8:18 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damien, Conrad, and John here with you. Appreciate y'all hopping on with us. Have some fun. Last segment I gave you my SEC quarterback power rankings going into the season. And I'm interested to see where Conrad goes. as he is going to go 1 through 16 of his SEC quarterback rankings.
Yeah, so we'll break it down just like Damien did from 16 all the way up to number 1, and we had some similarities, some differences. We had more differences in the bottom half, though. I will go ahead and say that there. So getting started off at number 16, I had KJ Jackson there at Arkansas, and that's a combination of don't really know what to make of him, but also I think the situation that he's in. I think Arkansas is the worst team in the SEC right now, and it's just going to be tough sledding for him. There's no doubt about it. What?
They're the worst team in the SEC already?
Do you disagree with that?
No,
exactly.
No,
I mean,
no.
It may not sound great to hear that if you're an Arkansas fan, but
tough.
I feel like it's just kind of the reality of the situation now. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe Ryan Silverfield can work some magic, but for right now, I got to put him down there at the bottom of the list. Number 15, I put Jared Curtis, the 5-star freshman for Vanderbilt. And this is, kind of what I was just saying. I think Vanderbilt's in a better spot as a program after Diego Pavia, and I think, it's a better entry spot for a new quarterback. And, I think they're a very interesting team this year in terms of are we going to see them drop all the way back to being under 500, not even making a bowl game? What kind of is that floor for Vanderbilt without Diego Pavia? Because it's kind of hard to remember what that's like after the last couple of years. But I do think Jared Curtis, he's got a lot of potential, and I think that he could move up this list later in the year. But you're a freshman, like there's going to be growing pains that go along with that. But I think he's got a lot of potential, so I'll put him at number 15. Number 14, I've got Faison Brandon / George McIntyre. I'm assuming that it's going to end up being Faison Brandon by the end of the year. Maybe it's George McIntyre to start because he's been around the program and the system longer. But I do think that the system that Josh Heupel has allows for a new quarterback coming in. It's a little friendlier to them, and you've got good skill guys around you where I think it'll just be a little bit better spot for whichever one of those quarterbacks is ultimately named the starter for Tennessee. But still don't really know what you're getting with either of those guys. So I have them at 14. At number 13, I have Aaron Philo for the Florida Gators. Another situation, just don't really know what you're going to get from him, but I do like the fact you have the continuity with Buster Faulkner coming over. You're sticking with the offensive coordinator he had at Georgia Tech. You've got really good skill guys around you. We talked about it earlier in the show. The wide receivers for Florida should be awesome. Yes. They have one of the best running backs in the entire country in Jaden Ball. If the offensive line is solid, then I think he's going to have every resource around him to be successful. Just need to see it with my own eyes first. Number 12, I'm going Austin Simmons at Mizzou. This time last year, I think we would have had Austin Simmons really high up on our list because we were really, really excited to see what he was going to do at Ole Miss. But the turnovers, man, it was rough. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year in limited time with Ole Miss before he got hurt, of course, and Trinidad came in, and that was all she wrote on that front. But I like what Mizzou's doing. Like you brought up Caden Lee and some of these guys that they've got around him. You've got maybe the best running back in the country, and Ahmad Hardy right up there with Kewan Lacey and Jaden Ball as the top dogs in the SEC, no doubt about it. I need to see the turnovers be limited because if he can. There's so much potential there. And I like to think that if we can see the best version of Austin Simmons, and I think that can be a really great quarterback. But, man, outside of that one drive that we saw going back against Georgia 2 years ago in the playoff, I mean, that's the best we've ever seen him. I mean, the guy threw 2 picks against Georgia Southern last year in the season opener. So I don't know what to expect there. So I have him at number 12. Number 11, I have Kenny Minchie. We just talked about him. Like, I guess I'm kind of buying into the hype there of we almost beat out CJ Carr, who's, one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy, and he's incredible. But I really like Will Stein and what he was able to do with Dante Moore and Bo Nix at Oregon over the last few years. I'm not saying Kenny Minchie's going to be that kind of a guy, but I do think that the talent is there, and I have high expectations for him. So I put him at number 11. Number 10, I have Camario Taylor. I had him a little bit higher than you did.
Okay.
That's me just going off of what we did see from him last year before he got hurt. Man, he was absolutely electric. And I also think just with Mississippi State, you kind of need a guy like that can do everything for you. Mm-hmm. And I think it may be a situation where Mississippi State is still not, one of the better teams in the conference, but I think that this is a guy that can absolutely fill up a stat sheet for you and make some really big highlight plays. So I'm going to put him at number 10. I really like what I saw from him last year. At number 9, I have Keelan Russell because I assume he's going to be the quarterback for Alabama.
Okay.
And I have him at number 9 because, again, we've seen limited, garbage time reps for him last year. He got into a couple of games there, but the ceiling for him is, if you told me that he ended up being the best quarterback in the league this year, I'd be a little surprised, but that ceiling is there, right? The hype for him is at that level. We just need to see it actually play out. But what we saw from Ty Simpson last year, I have higher expectations for Keelan Russell than I did for Ty Simpson at the same time last year, and we saw how good Ty ended up being. But he was more experienced. He had more time, in the system. He had more familiarity with it. But the sky's the limit for a guy like Keelan Russell. We just need to see it. But I do think he's going to be very, very good for Alabama this year, and I do think he will ultimately be the starter in Week 1. Number 8, I have Lenore Sellers. I'm really down on Lenore Sellers, man. I understand from an NFL perspective, right? He would be higher up on this list in terms of, draft stock for next year because he has the body type, he has the physicality, he has the mobility, and he's got an arm. It's a combination of he regressed last year. I'm still not totally bought into the system that he has around him. We'll see if Kendall Briles can, get him back to what we saw as a freshman. But I like Nick Harbor. He's fast. He's big. That's cool. But we said the same thing last year. Yeah, exactly. I think the guys around him might let Lenore Sellers down, and he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. You're in a volatile situation where your coach is on the hot seat. I need to see him be the guy that we know he can be, and we didn't see that last year, and he got worse. Yeah. So I have him there at number 8. Number 7, I got John Mateer. Like you, I was on the hype train for John Mateer last year. I know he got hurt, had the thumb injury against Auburn, and we want to write off why he didn't have the season he could because of that. But look, maybe that was the reason that we never saw the real John Mateer, but we got a lot of John Mateer after that, and it never looked like the guy that you saw coming over from Washington State. So need to see him continue to grow in the SEC. I like what he can do as a runner, and there are times where he shows you some of those flashes, but even going back to the playoff game against Alabama, well, first off, the first time when they beat Alabama, it's not like he played lights out. Alabama gave him a lot of opportunities to capitalize on, and he did, and a lot of Alabama mistakes were made, and they won that game. But then, man, some of the decisions that he was making when they were up big against Alabama in the playoff game, just abysmal decisions, and the turnovers have to go away. So I have him at number 7 on my ranking. At number 6, I have Marcel Reed. I'm with you. I don't know how much better Marcel Reed can get, but he was better than all of the other guys that were below him last year. So I have to put him at number 6. This might be the ceiling for him. He might not get any higher than this year. But he was better than Mateer. He was better than Lenore Sellers. I've actually seen him lead a team to a playoff. I haven't seen Keelan Russell do that or any of the guys below him. So I got to put Marcel Reed at number 6. Number 5, I also had Byron Brown at number 5. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he'll be the best quarterback that Auburn's had in at least a decade probably. But you do still have some question marks about him coming over from the American Conference to the SEC. But I think his floor is higher than some of these other guys because of what his legs offer. And that's something that's going to translate. And if even early on he starts to struggle with reading defenses and things, I think his athletic ability will allow him to get out of some difficult spots. And that's why I have him at number 5. Number 4, I think you had Sam Levitt at number 4. I also have him there. And I really like what I saw from him at Arizona State. Thought he was better 2 years ago than he was last year, but he was still really good last year. It just comes down to the foot injury and how is he going to be able to recover from that? Is he ready to go week 1? But I do think Sam Levitt's a guy that by the end of the year will be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. And right now, I feel really good about him as long as he's healthy. And it's a Lane Kiffin offense. Like he's going to, you mentioned it, he's going to put up numbers. They're going to put him in a position to succeed. So I've got him at number 4. Number 3, and these are all really tough for me. I think these guys are kind of interchangeable, and we're splitting hairs on this one. For number 3, I put Gunnar Stockton there. I absolutely have no problem if Gunnar Stockton's at number 1 or number 2 on somebody else's list. I know you had him at 2. I really, really like what I saw from Gunnar Stockton last year. He's tough. He's physical. He really developed as a passer, and he ended up being a better passer than I thought that he was going to be. I just think the guys ahead of him, I think they have higher ceilings. And so that's why I have him at number 3. At number 2, I have Arch. I was super critical of Arch the first half of last season, and I wasn't that impressed with what I saw. But I think part of that is we put way too much hype on a kid that hadn't had a lot of playing time. He had to kind of feel it out. He didn't have a great offensive line around him. They had massive injuries at the running back spot. He had a lot of things working against him last year. But when I look at the last 6 games really for him last year, you start with that Mississippi State game where he really went off. He had a great game against Vanderbilt, really good against Georgia, even though they lost that game, put up good numbers there. But, I mean, I think Arch Manning got better as the season went on. I think now going into year 2, you've got 2 great running backs. You've got 2 really good receivers. We think the offensive line is going to be improved. I just think the ceiling for Arch is really, really high, and what he offers as a runner as well as a passer, if he continues to grow in both of those areas like he did last year, there's a reason that he's very high on the list to make or to win the Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
And then at number 1, I do have Trinidad. I do think that there's nobody else you can have at number 1 right now. I do have questions about Ole Miss in terms of how it's going to look without Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. calling the plays. But he's so good, man. He is absolutely electric, and the way that he played. I mean, I just going back to that playoff game against Georgia, and like he was so composed. He made all of the big throws that you needed him to make, and a guy that none of us even knew who this kid was a year ago, coming over from Ferris State to develop into the talent that he was. I think he's got everything. Maybe he's a little undersized, you would say. I'm sure that's what the NFL will tell him, but it's hard for me not to have him at number 1. So that would be my my ranking as it stands right now.
All right. We gave you our SEC quarterback power rankings. Where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong? 205-834-9450. Where do you think your quarterback should be in the SEC? We would like to hear from you on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
The capital of the sports talk nation. This is Jocks 94.5 and JocksFM.com. Birmingham.
8:34 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian, Conrad, and John here with you. Had a chance to past 2 segments discussing our SEC quarterback power rankings. And we're just trying to get some reaction. 205-834-9450. Your calls, your text messages, always welcome here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. John Mack, he resident Texas Aggie fan, alum. Not too happy about Marcel Reed not being in the top 5, or we had him. I think we reasonably had him at like 6, 7, 8. Like, just I feel as though that's reasonable because we saw the peaks of Marcel Reed, but we also saw some of those lulls.
Yeah, he was great against Notre Dame. Early in the season, he was fantastic. He was really great in the second half against South Carolina after he stopped turning the ball over and they had that great comeback. Like, really impressive in those moments. But I mean, he's also a guy that absolutely just fell off a cliff at the end of the season against Texas and Miami in the 2 biggest games of the season for you. And he had 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions across those games. And I mean, he averaged 200 passing yards in those games, didn't throw a single touchdown. Like that's my thing with Marcel Reed is he's good, but if Texas A&M, if you want to be the type of team that can actually contend for a national championship and contend, to win some games and make some noise in the playoff, like you need a quarterback that is at his best in those moments. And that's
correct.
That's I feel like that with any quarterback. It's not just because it's Marcel Reed or just because it's Texas A&M. You need your quarterback to be at his best in the biggest games and the biggest moments. And Marcel Reed was the worst you saw him all season in the biggest games for Texas A&M last year.
Yeah, and I take John Mack back to a conversation he had on the text line on April 23rd. He said, the talking heads around here say Reed has made huge strides and is going to be great. I just can't buy that same story as last year. Reed played well against mid-competition and was on Heisman watch, which made me laugh, but crumbled under good teams and pressure at the end of the season. Truth is, Reed is not big enough, and he's not an accurate enough passer. I don't believe you can teach accuracy. You either have it or you don't. He said, this is what John Mack texted in April. And then he texts us this morning and says, you guys make me laugh. You never fail to come up with excuses for Bama and Auburn. Reed will be better. He's top 3 minimum. 6, what a joke. So I just want to know what in the span of 2 months and some change made you go back, and once you agreed with us that he's kind of average to above average, and now we're disrespecting Marcel Reed because he's not a top 3 quarterback in the league. And again, I just think we've seen the pinnacle. Like, we've seen the best that Marcel Reed is going to be, and that was great. Like, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But then like we talked about, when you look at the end of the season against your hated rival in Texas, who has beaten you ever since they've gotten into the league, and then against Miami, where, again, the win, there were a lot of external factors that kind of dictated how that game was going to go. You still weren't able to establish the run game consistently. And then when he was asked to throw the ball, and we got pretty much the same Marcel Reed we'd always get. So, like, it's hard to say that he's going to be one of those top 2 to 3, 4 or 5 guys. I think that 6, 7 is reasonable. Like, I think that's reasonable for Marcel Reed. And again, you got to think about it. He's going into another system in 2026 under a new offensive coordinator. Like, everything is brand new. And again, this is what John Mack said. You can't teach accuracy. Do you think that's going to improve under a new system? Do you think it's going to be easy? You don't have Casey Concepcion where you can just throw a screen pass and let him go do whatever he needs to do. Now you still have Mario Craver, who does he take that next step to being a number 1 guy? You bring in Isaiah Horton, who I think is a solid receiver.
Yeah,
but I don't necessarily think that. I don't think he necessarily scares me if I'm looking at the scouting report. It's like, okay, we need to be aware of where he is. Bethel Roman, does he take another step up? Like, the ingredients are there, but it all hinges on what the quarterback does. And I just don't think that Marcel Reed, at least the guys that are ahead of him, that he can reach their ceiling on a consistent basis.
No, and we're not ranking these guys based on how good they were in the middle of October last year or, something like that. Because, yeah, you can say, okay, well, yeah, Marcel Reed, he was in the Heisman race last year, and then he completely fell out of it.
Correct.
Texas A&M was in the running and one of the front runners to be in Atlanta to play for their first SEC championship. They weren't able to make that happen. They hosted a playoff game against Miami, and let me check. They still only scored 3 points in that game. Like, again, Texas A&M made massive strides last year. Marcel Reed made massive strides last year. But, I mean, let's not – like, the dude – he wasn't Johnny Manziel last year. Like,
no.
Texas A&M wasn't –
He wouldn't even Kellen Mond.
That's a lot coming from you.
Right. I mean, listen, I'm very objective. But he wasn't. Like, at least Kellen Mond, I kind of knew what to expect. He was going to – he was going to have some okay moments, but yet Texas A&M it sometimes found a way to win those ball games.
Mm-hmm.
When the best is needed from Marcel Reed, he didn't show up.
Correct.
Simple as that. When the best was needed for Gunnar Stockton, he showed up. Same with Trinidad Chambliss. Sam Leavitt, I mean, yeah, at Arizona State when he was asked, more times than not he was there. And Arch Manning, he steadily improved moving forward. And I'm not completely against Marcel because even last season, every week that went by, I was seeing Texas A&M have gaudy numbers offensively, and I'm sitting there thinking, in the back of my mind, the real Marcel Reed is going to show up at some point because he was playing out of his mind early on. But again, when Texas A&M needed him to step up and make plays, yeah, you did it against LSU, you did it against Notre Dame. He did against a lot of these other teams. But when you had one game to win against your arch rival to ensure that you were going to the SEC championship, you lost. No matter how you slice it up. You can say that, Sark didn't do, Sark ain't, worth the piss, or you can say that Texas is overrated. Well, when they match up with Texas A&M, more times than not, they're on point. And going into it, you had the better football team. No ands, ifs, or buts about it because Arch was still trying to figure it all out. But up until that point, it felt as though Texas A&M was going to roll Texas, and yet they still ended up losing that ball game. So, and again, I understand John Mack. That's his guy. Like, he is a Texas A&M diehard. But, like, you can't tell me in April that you're still bullish on Marcel Reed and then 2 months later saying that he needs to be in the conversation of top 3 quarterbacks when the argument is still the same. He's just as inconsistent as he was there's so many caveats and so many question marks when you even had him at the peak last year to now feel confident to say that he's going to be one of these guys in 2026.
Yeah, and I think in my opinion, out of the the rankings that we went through, like at least for mine, right? Because I had Marcel Reed at number 6. The only guy that I would think that you would have a conversation with is like, okay, if you like Marcel Reed over Byron Brown because you need to see what Byron Brown does in the SEC before you want to put him up there, like fine.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly fine if you want to flip those guys at 5 and 6. But I'm definitely, if you're Texas A&M and you have Sam Leavitt or Gunnar Stockton or Arch or Trinidad Chambliss, like I think we're having a different conversation about Texas A&M
right
heading into the season.
100%.
And I think even the John Max of the world would admit that you would rather have any one of those 4 guys, under center for you this year. But, and maybe we'll be wrong, right? Maybe if Marcel Reed takes another step like he did from 2024 to 2025, if he does that again, then absolutely. Like we're talking about a guy that'll be in the Heisman race again, and Texas A&M will be back in the college football playoff. And that could happen. It's just, are you 100% confident that is going to happen if you're a Texas A&M fan? And maybe you are, but I'm not personally, but it is possible.
I'm right there with you.
Because I didn't think he was going to make as big of a jump as he did last year. So like credit where credit was due. He improved in a lot of ways, but he also left a lot of things to be desired. And, right or wrong, quarterbacks are judged on wins. And when you needed him to show up and win you football games the most, he didn't.
Yep. Joseph takes in and says, do you guys think Gunnar can be the best quarterback in the country? Oh, yeah. He has it. He has the tools. I think the biggest thing for Georgia –
it's more like who's around him, I feel like.
Exactly. It's, okay, well, do you still have a firecracker or a home run hitter like you had with Zachariah Branch where I can just give him the ball and let the big explosive plays happen? I do think London Humphreys, being back for another year, he was reliable target. Kobe Young last year developed into, finally he kind of fit into his mold, or at least, the way that God blessed him at being, 6'3", about 220, 225. Like he started to play to that level. And I think the pieces around Gunnar Stockton, can they elevate their game? Because I do think that Gunnar, he's tough as nails. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way more times than not. And also, they're not asking Gunnar to go out there and throw for 400. If he does, so be it. But they're asking him to kind of just take what the defense is giving you, put us in the best position, score touchdowns, make productive plays. And if we have an explosive, let's go get it. Like he's not asked to do.
Yeah, and that's what would hold him back in that conversation. It's like he's not going to put up the numbers that Dante Moore or Julian Sayin or Trinidad Chambliss or Arch probably are going to put up this year. But
he's a gamer.
Yeah.
Like he's just a straight up gamer. And
he's the kind of quarterback, like if you're Georgia, you can confidently say, yeah, we hear you. Those other guys are great. But like with what we do, like we wouldn't take them over Gunnar.
Correct.
And we might, you might look at that and go, oh, well, I don't know about that. But I think truly for Kirby and that offense and the way that they like to run things, like he is the perfect quarterback for them.
By far.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's great.
Yeah, like the numbers may not tell you that he's the best quarterback in the country, but line him up against anybody else and you'll see. Like the guy's just he's a different, like he's just a gamer where it doesn't matter what the down and distance is. You feel confident knowing that he's not going to put you in harm's way. So I do think that Gunnar Stockton can be in the conversation of being the best quarterback in the country. Alan texts in and says Marcel Reed or Ty Simpson last year. He said he wants my answer. He knows what your answer is going to be, and it's going to be.
Well, yeah, it's the right answer.
Yeah, it's Ty Simpson, and I agree 100%. I don't have revisionist history of what 2025 was for Ty Simpson. Like the brother was asked to do everything, and more times than not, he did everything. So, and for me, I look at it from this perspective. Ty Simpson, with the lack of the run game that he had, made up for everything because of his decision making, the concepts. Like he was not putting Alabama in bad situations. It was, by God, if we can't find a way to get 2 to 3 yards on the ground, I'll have to do it myself. I'm going to put the ball. Yeah, there were inaccuracies at times, but you go back again, the month of October for Ty Simpson in Alabama, you can't script it any better because they stood the test. They stood the test when they went on the road to Missouri, who was a ranked Missouri team at that time. Beat Tennessee, who was still ranked at that time. Again, the month of November kind of changed everything because, okay, you start to see some cracks in the foundation when, LSU comes into town and it's a little bit close for comfort. You lose to Oklahoma. Turnovers early on kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. And then against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, it was the first time really all season where you saw a quarterback design run and he takes it, 25 yards down the sideline. And really and truly, when the offensive line was as inconsistent as it was, your quarterback was able to rise above the ashes, like just standing there taking it, taking shots and still getting back up, next play mentality. And yeah, it didn't look great in the SEC championship, but Georgia they were hot, like they were rolling. They just tried to, they got their get back from what happened in the regular season, and they were playing with house money. They were playing with their hairs on fire, and there was nothing you could do. Ty Simpson also went on the road with that same Alabama team that could not run the football and mounts a comeback and beats Oklahoma on the road, a team that you lost to in the regular season, and won a playoff game. So like I look at Ty Simpson with a bunch of grace. Like there's a reason why he was a first round draft pick, because again, in spite of everything around him being inconsistent, he showed up game in and game out and gave you the best opportunity to win football games, and you won those games more times than not.
I feel like Texas A&M would have been really good with Ty Simpson last year.
Oh, they wouldn't have lost to Texas. But and again, no offense to Marcel Reed.
No, he's a good player.
He is a good quarterback.
I'm not ready to say he's great.
No, he's shown great moments. He's shown great flashes. But consistently doing that is the one thing that we need to see in order we're going to put him in the conversation of the best when it comes to SEC quarterbacks. We'll continue with your reaction on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
8:51 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Conrad and John here with you. Got another hour to go. Appreciate your reaction. 205-834-9450. Paul Feinbaum came on at 7:15 as he always does by our friends at Craneworks. Taking a look at the SEC. Got a chance to do our quarterback power rankings for the SEC as well. Been getting some feedback there. 205-834-9450. And something that we came across during the break on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Sullen Surf, he asked ChatGPT to describe each SEC team in the rudest way possible, and it's pretty entertaining, and I think we can have some fun with this. Starting off with Alabama, says lives entirely in the past. Every conversation starts with back when Saban.
Yeah, I mean,
how was the truth rude?
Right.
I can't really push back on that one. Yeah, no.
That's pretty
Cannot
funny.
push back on that.
We got one for Auburn. It says pure chaos. Either beats a top 5 team or loses to someone who forgot they had a football program.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I'm very worried that AI is about to take over because this is looking strong.
It's spot on.
I was about to say more the latter than the former lately, but yeah, that's a good one.
They figured it out.
Yeah, Georgia, they have their fans discover success and immediately became the loudest people on earth. That is true.
Yeah, it's a lot of barking.
It is.
They kind of maybe always were.
Yeah, like
they always thought they were better than they were, and now they're validated.
Yeah. Right.
They backed into it and like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Here.
Now we got championships to prove it. LSU, tailgating national champion. Sometimes the party is more impressive than the game. That's
okay.
True.
I think they take that.
They're right. It's like,
yeah,
this is
they're
offensive.
proud of that one. Yeah.
And we're supposed to be offended by that? Mississippi State, the cowbells are louder than most of the trophy case.
Yep. Yep.
It's louder than silence.
That's
I guess anything. Okay.
Anything.
Yeah, the trophy case is, yeah. Okay.
Oklahoma says showed up to the SEC expecting a welcome party and got a reality check instead.
Yeah, they did in the first year. They bounced back nicely last year.
Yeah.
Though.
I mean, they had Dylan Gabriel. You know, like it was a little bit of an adjustment. Tennessee has 2 modes. We're winning it all and fire everybody, sometimes in the same quarter.
I feel like that's very applicable on the conversation that we had earlier about Tennessee.
100%.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, unlimited budget, unlimited hype, mysteriously limited results. Whew, boy, this is real.
We are, 8 for 8 so far?
All right, Arkansas, masters of convincing themselves this is finally the year until it's not.
Yeah, I think even this year, though, they finally the reality has set in for them.
For Florida, still acting like it's 2008 while wondering why the Glory Days won't answer the phone.
Yeah, that feels right.
That's good.
Kentucky, football exists mainly to fill time until basketball season. except even that hasn't gone to plan as recent. Hasn't gone as planned recently.
That's good.
That's real.
Yeah.
Ole Miss wins the offseason press conference every single year.
Yeah, well, I guess they're assuming Lane Kiffin's still there.
Yeah,
they're assuming Lane
year.
Kiffin's still there. We got to update that one.
Yeah, maybe like the explicit version for Pete
true.
Golden.
Yeah.
Missouri, half the country still forgets they're even in the SEC.
Yep.
That is true.
Yep.
South Carolina hangs championship banners for beating a ranked team in October.
That's pretty good.
That's real.
That's good.
To be fair, the ones they had were really in November.
Right.
That was the one that really kept Shane Beamer around.
Yeah, they had a couple 2
Two of
years
those,
ago. Yeah.
For Texas, believes Texas is a personality trait. Believes being Texas is a personality trait.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. That is their whole life. Yep.
Absolutely. To round out Vanderbilt, the GPA carries the conference harder than the football team. Those days are over. I mean, you think about it. Clark Lee told us years ago at SEC Media Days that he was building Vanderbilt to be one of the best. No,
The best.
the best program in college football.
Still haven't gotten there yet.
But he is a lot closer than he used to be.
He is, and we will learn a lot this year about what that's going to look like moving forward, I think.
And just think about it. Like, now we're in a conversation for the past 2 to 3 years where Vanderbilt is no longer, like, we can no longer just pencil in them as the worst team in the SEC when we fill out our predicted order of finish moving into the season.
No, they passed that torch on to Arkansas.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we can't even knock it. It's so hard because you almost felt attached to Arkansas to an extent of, like, man, Sam Pittman, when he was there, you felt good. Like, he was just he was the player's coach. He just felt
They
like
were likable. Yeah, you wanted them to be good because you felt bad for them.
And now it's, man, we don't know. And I don't think Ryan Silverfield is a bad coach. I just think that, man, every game is almost an element of surprise of, oh, okay, well, Arkansas kept it close, and then they mess around and win. It's like, okay, well. And even last year, it wasn't the offense's fault. Well, I mean, it wasn't the defense. Excuse me. It wasn't the offense's fault as far as putting up numbers. It's defensively, they couldn't stop anything. Now, if you kind of look at it, Bobby Petrino's gone, Sam Pittman's gone, Ryan Silverfield comes in. It's like, hey, if you actually make a stop on defense, Arkansas could be going bowling. Could.
I'll let you have that one.
It'll be better than it was last year. They only got 2. More Mac and Cube on the other side. Keep it locked here on Jocks.
This is McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada? Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
When the moments in your life are too important to miss, you can trust O'Reilly Auto Parts to keep you and your plans on the road. Our professional parts people can test your vehicle's battery and even give it a charge if needed. In most cases, we can install your new battery for free. It's just one of the many services we provide at O'Reilly Auto Parts to ensure life's best moments don't find you stranded.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This isn't your average podcast.
You like party?
This is Full Send. Join the party.
So you guys launched the Nelk Love Island. Congrats, boys.
Who's that?
Big production, dude.
Like 5 years ago, we could do that easily, and it'd be crazy when we're partying, but when you're like in your 30s a little bit.
Well, that's why you barely show up to set, day 2.
Just a few hours tardy.
Steiny wanted to be the host of the show, too. It's like, why didn't you let me be the host? It's like, bro, you showed up 6 hours late every day.
I had a girlfriend.
The Full Send podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
One Night with Steiny.
One Night with Steiny. Shout out Full Send Nelk. This is just about me being myself. Gonna be chaotic. I can't guarantee anything. All I can guarantee is that you're gonna be entertained. How can I join OVO?
You can keep DMing Drake or keep paying.
By the way, I like OVO.
How do you know that I do that?
I know you DM Drake all the time. I know.
How do you know that?
You paid me $3,000 on Venmo one time to text him for you.
Dude.
One Night with Steiny.
One Night with Steiny, baby. Let's go.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Hey there, I'm Paula Pan. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible. If you don't control your money, it controls you.
Yeah, you're not in control of your finances and you have to look outside of yourself to live the life that you want. You're not in control. You're like,
what is it that you actually want? Money should follow the dreams and goals, because sometimes we make the dream and goal the money and you've overworked yourself and you've exceeded what you've needed for the actual thing you want. Sometimes we forget, what's the actual thing you want?
Afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.